Good morning, Hobbyverse. It is March 7th. Time is flying. It's time for another edition of Hobby Hotline. I'm not even sure. I think we're 377. Sometimes I'm sure there was probably an error in numbering in 5 years. So who knows for sure? But one thing I do know for sure, I got two great co-hosts with me this morning. So without further ado, to my top right, Lauren from Lauren Goes Here. Good morning.
Good morning.
And only, as I always say, only lower than us on the screen, just because we can't get three wide on the top with the format. Chris Carlin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's get to some good mornings from the chat room and those out there as well. We've got Orlando. Good morning, Orlando. Confluence Sports Cards. Good morning as well. Orlando says he's listening on his way to the Fort Lauderdale card show. Southern Cards 224615. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Mad City Brew, as always. Good morning. Peter B. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Larry Gitlin. Good morning. Warren in Cleveland. Warren Dakota. Good morning. David Chase. It says hello, sports cards investors. All right. Well, good morning to David. In any case, Yank Me Card Steve. Howdy from Tucson. Good morning. Yeah, he's in Tucson. Yep.
Love it.
Howdy from Tucson. I don't think there's another Tucson other than Arizona. So, our own Rich Klein, Saber Geek, says good morning. Foul Five Ball, who doesn't mince words. I appreciate that. Good morning to you, sir. Abel in Vegas. Good morning. Clean Cheap Shots. Good morning as well. And the battery, Carly Rude. Good afternoon. They're in Scotland. So top of the morning, to you, or top of the afternoon, as you just said to you. We got Scott. Good morning, Scott. So, guys, the first topic that I want to get to is I just attended a Tops Rip night. It was my second one I've ever attended. It was the first one for my local card store that's literally like 2.3 miles from my house. Carmelo Anthony's son, Cayenne, was the guest of honor. Cayenne is a freshman at his dad's alma mater, Syracuse University. And it was just a great night. I know that for the owners to get their first Rip night and then to get a guest like Cayenne, that's means a lot to the local community. They were stoked, and it was packed. I had pictures, but my pictures are not working. I apologize for that. You can, for those that do really want to see them, I did post them on my social media, so you can find them there. At least that part's working, unless who knows anymore. But it was just a great night. 200 to 300 people came through the door. A lot of kids, which I know to all three of us means a lot. Especially you, Chris, with having some young boys that are active in the hobby, and giveaways and just well done. And like, it's not a prerequisite, but the fellas ordered food as well for everybody. Like, they put on a really great spread, and it was just a great night with a lot of giveaways. Everyone got a free pack coming through the door, so like everyone got something. Then there were giveaways through the course of the night, pack wars, a Q&A with Cayenne as well. I like these type of events where it's sort of like the hobby gives back, if you will, a little bit. Obviously, let's be real. It's a retail event designed to also have products sold. Let's not be disingenuous about it. But I like them. I like them, especially if they're not overdone. Like, I don't want to see these now become like an every month or every quarterly. But I think if they're spaced apart far enough, I think it's a great way to celebrate the hobby. I love the kids aspect and the giveaways and that sort of thing. I don't know who wants to go first, but kind of your thoughts on events like this for the hobby.
Well, I'll go first. I think it's great. I think it is good. I know it is basically a big, marketing thing, but I think it's great because it does get people in the door who might not normally. I feel like, in the limited knowledge I have of how they plan it, I feel like they put a lot of thought into who goes. There's a card shop in St. Louis, and I think on Instagram he's RBI Crew, and I went to his old shop. We passed through St. Louis last year, and I went to his old shop. He recently moved, so we have to go see his new shop. But he is a big WWE fan. Randy Orton is from St. Louis. That's who he collects. And that's who they sent to his store, which is great because he's a part of the community. He's significant to the region. So I feel like that, and apparently Randy Orton was incredible. He was so kind. He only had to be there for like 20 minutes and he ended up staying and signing a bunch of stuff, like anything anybody wanted him to sign. So I think it's great. I think it's a relatively easy way to do like a massive marketing that like personally connects to a lot of people because they do it across the country. They do it in all different regions. If they put that thought in to like make sure that somebody like, Cayenne being at Syracuse and his dad being, a legend there, him going to that shop, like, geographically it makes sense because he goes to school there, but like Randy Orton is traveling all over the place. So like they put thought into that. And I think that's great. I think that shows, that they really want to make sure that it has purpose, that it's not just some kind of like marketing ploy that's like a flash in the pan. Like they're making memories, they're, building a relationship, between, who you collect, the community and the card shop. And I know at the end of the day, it's a big company and it's, to make more money. But I think, for kids who don't care about that stuff yet, or for people who just like collecting and are like, I'll take the W. I think it's great. I think it's really cool. I think it's fun. I think they're doing a good job. Like you said, everybody gets something. Nobody leaves empty handed or unhappy, I think. So I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's great.
Yeah, growing up at my local hobby shop, on Sundays there was the raffle, the weekly raffle, and I would beg my mom to get me there for this because they're giving stuff away, and I would always get frustrated by the guy who would buy a whole bunch of product in front of me and get extra tickets and win everything. Every once in a while, I'd win a box.
You got to track him down, Chris. Now that you're older,
Yeah.
say, "Remember me?
Remember me?" I'm not vindictive like that. No, it was a great time. But then going up and working for Upper Deck and seeing what it takes to run one of these events, just getting one athlete to one shop, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's almost a Herculean achievement. I've had athletes take cars and go to strip clubs. I've had all sorts of things happen, and had them be rude, disrespectful, awful. So these events, just one of these events, could be a powder keg type of situation for the manufacturer where if something goes wrong, it looks really bad on the company and the athlete, on, the team. And we haven't had that. And they're not doing one event, one athlete. They're doing 30, 40, 60. It's the best thing, in my opinion, that has happened in the Fanatics Tops world these days. And the athletes they're bringing, they're not, chumps. It's, to be able to open packs with Tom Brady, like, this is crazy. So I think it is one of the best executed programs that Topps Fanatics does right now. And in a world where you have people calling out Fanatics like never before online, and people going and meeting with Michael Rubin and general customers doing this. This is something that looks really, really good for Topps Fanatics, and I think it's a great thing. We're making core memories with these folks that are going to last a lifetime. It'll keep them coming back. They'll always remember that time they met that athlete, and it will be that warm spot in their hearts that, when they leave the hobby for a little bit, it'll be that thing that nags them to come back and dip their toe back in the water. So I think it's a fantastic program. I can't believe they've been able to pull it off so successfully for so long without, some type of blow up or flare up. But their athlete relations team is doing a phenomenal job coaching up these athletes about what exactly they're about to walk into, to make sure that it's a great event.
Yeah, no doubt. Well said, Chris. Let's get to a couple comments. Avon Vegas talking about the frequency of them. One rip night per quarter per major sport may it be adequate. I don't even know if I want that many, folks. I'm good with maybe two. I know the first one, like this one, as Rich here says, coincides with the start of the baseball season and the release of the flagship baseball product, which makes sense. I mean, I get that. That 100% makes sense. At the one here we had in Syracuse, a gentleman pulled a Paul Skeens auto card number to 25. That just probably made his year as well. And the one thing I would like, and you alluded to it, Chris, how hard it is working with these professional athletes, right? To get all these ducks in a row and get them there and what to expect.
And it's not just athletes; they have entertainers too. It's crazy the types of people they're bringing in, and this is the promise they made, which is great that they're living up to it.
Yeah. So, and they did this not just here in the States, but even in Europe and some of the shops there. I believe it was over 150 different athletes / celebrities that appeared as part of the Rip Night promotion. And the only thing I would like to see, and listen, it's not false advertising. Like in most of the advertising, it says this is not like an autograph event. It's more of a meet and greet. But when I look at the line, because I was inside, they closed the store. Then anyone that had to make their final purchases before Rip Night started, and then you had to leave the store and line up. And when I looked at the line outside the store, people had, basketballs in their hands and photos, even though Cayenne wasn't signing. Now, I'm not going to, he might have snuck a few signatures in, but it was mostly high fives to the kids, a Q&A, ripping packs with the kids and that sort of thing. What I'd like to see, like I know, they're there generally an hour max to between 30 minutes an hour, and they can't sign for everybody. I fully get that. What I'd like to see maybe, and it would take more, like you said, it's hard enough to get them there in general, but maybe even where they could have signed before the event, 50 cards, and those could be given away. So, because I know there were a few kids here at the Syracuse Rep Party, guys that were disappointed that, I saw a couple with tears rolling down their face that they did not get a Cayenne autograph. And obviously it's not Cayenne's fault. We're not mad at him, but I think the kids didn't, the kids just assumed that he was going to be there. I could meet him and get his autograph. So maybe if they had like 50 or 60 cards, like pre-signed in advance, where they were just either given the kids only or giveaways of some sort. I'd like to see something along those lines tied in. Again, every Rip Night at every location is different. I'm sure some of the athletes maybe even did sign, even though they really weren't supposed to. Just some of the thoughts, and especially from you, Chris, you've dealt with a lot of these logistics. I mean, that definitely ups the ante, but could it be pulled off?
No, not at the scale that they're doing it. There's too many different athletes. You can't just do one type of release for all of them. They all have different agreements with different companies for what they can sign, who they can sign for. I know that sounds a little Jerry Maguire-ish, in the beginning of Jerry Maguire, I only signed top shelf cards. But it's really, really tricky to execute on. And they don't always know how. Now they're getting to realize how big these events are, but the bigger they get, the harder it is to do personalized stuff like that. And that's why you see, it's not a great look, I don't think, to be throwing packs in the in at people and people trampling kids to get it a pack. But that's the type of frenzy this event has these events have created. And that's what they're, the excitement of the hobby is really what they're banking on and using for marketing purposes, because it is exciting. It is fun. It's close. It's cool to be up to have the chance to get an autograph, and have this person walk into your small community that's quiet every day, and now there's a big light on it. And I think that is the one great thing that Topps has done for these small businesses is shine a light on their shop and allow them to show off what makes them so special. Every hobby shop is different, and that's what makes it so fun walking through their doors. But that's what Topps is doing, is driving people there.
Yeah, Lauren, like, does that bother you that a lot of these athletes, maybe aren't there to sign? It's not possible, and they're only allotted there to be there a certain amount of time, and many of them have very busy schedules. The fact that they're making fitness into their schedules, I know every advertisement I've seen, I don't want to say every, but I think the majority of them allude like this is not a signing event. It's a meet and greet. We're going to have some fun. There's going to be giveaways and pack wars and fun moments. Was it a parent that maybe didn't tell little Johnny, like, hey, we might get to meet Cayenne, but we're probably not going to get an autograph. So like maybe the blame falls a little bit on the expectations kind of walking through the door. Kind of your thoughts on that side of the topic.
Yeah, I think the expectation is pretty well set, at least by card shops and by Topps, that you get the opportunity to see this person live in your community, and that's the perk. Now, like I said, with Randy Orton, he stayed and he signed, but he is a veteran. Like, he knows the capacity he has for situations like this. Cayenne is a teenager. He's a kid. This might be one of his first big
19,
events,
19.
Yeah, so, I think setting the expectation low of like, you will get to see this person and that's a win. And then allowing them to kind of choose how much they want to do or what they can handle. Because some, like Cayenne is a kid, even though his dad is, both his parents are mega famous. For him to do it personally is different. It might be overwhelming. It might be overstimulating. He might not, have that capacity yet. So I think setting the bar where they do, where it's like, you will see this person and that's cool. And like, take that win. And then leaving it up to the person to decide, like, do I want to go the extra mile? Do I want to stay a little bit longer than I'm contractually obligated to? Do I want to sign a couple things for kids? I think, that can get sticky. Like Chris said, that like, the logistics of, who gets what and like, how do we disseminate that? If, the star is leaving that up to chance and making that choice, then I think like with Randy Orton, he's capable of doing that because he's been doing this forever and he knows how to handle people. He knows how to be with people. He knows what he can handle. So I know it could get a little sticky, but I feel like overall, if you set that bar, like, you will see this person, they're probably only going to be there for a minute. You will probably not get a personal interaction. If you then get that little extra bonus, that's awesome. That's a win, and that's really exciting. So I think as long as, Topps maintains that expectation of like, this is the cool thing that they're showing up. If they want to give a little bit more, then like, that's awesome. But Topps doesn't have to promise that. That can be up to the individual star or the shop or like what the logistics can manage. So
I appreciate you saying
the story on this.
Go ahead, Chris.
So we were having a VIP event at the National for Upper Deck in Cleveland, and we brought in Shaquille O'Neal. Now, it was a bowling event, at one of those cool bowling alleys, and we had our own private lanes and things like that. And I had the night scheduled pretty easily. And when you deal with the agents, you have to put together basically a run of show of what's going to happen and what is the athlete, what's expected of them. And we had it pretty easily laid out, photo op, sign an autograph for everyone, give out some product, and then bowl with the fans. Go from lane to lane and just mix it in bowl. And we do the first part, and Check. By the way, when you meet Check, like your whole hand is lost in his hand. Shake his hand. So it's so intimidating right off the bat. I'm trying to guide him around, and people are going crazy. Check. This is so awesome. So everyone gets their photos, everyone gets their autographs. He starts tossing out some product to people, and then it comes time to bowl, and he goes, "I'm not bowling." And I was like, "What do you mean?"
It sounded like this. I'm not bowling.
Yeah, we're at a bowling alley, Shaq. Like, it's in the deal that we did with you. What do you mean you're not bowling? He goes, "I'm not bowling."
Shaq don't bowl.
I'm like, well, crap. What am I going to do? I've got 250 people expecting to bowl with him. So I had a customer challenge him $100 on a frame that he could beat Shaq. And then when money was involved, he was a little more interested. And he ended up betting people all night long, $100 a frame, and people kept doing it, and he was winning initially, and then his arms started getting tired, and so his collectors are winning hundreds of bucks from Shaq, and it's way past time for him to go, and I go, "Shaq, you got to go," and he's like, I'm down. I got to get my money back." So he stayed a little bit longer, and was a little frustrated that he performed poorly in the end. But that was one of those where it ended up being an okay thing. But that's what I mean, is you just don't know what to expect. That has been communicated over to the athlete before an event like this, and could cause some issues. So. But you also got to be quick on your feet if you're going to be in those situations to try to save the day.
I gotta think too. Well, Michael Jordan has the golf course for a little, little side hustle, and I guess Shaq took it to the bowling alley. Did they actually have a ball that his fingers could fit into, or did he?
Yes, but it was funny. Like, he's just it's a pebble in his hand, So that was cool to see.
That's funny. A couple comments before we get to our next topic. Foul Five Ball says he's not impressed by athletes, so no big deal to him. And then we got a few more good mornings. Hoops Hobby Hangout. Good morning, sir. Nick, who is setting up or catching this while he's setting up at a card show. And good morning, Nick. Have a great show. I hope you do well. Rich put out in an earlier post that they got Robert Parrish, former Celtic great, there as well. So, awesome. Shaq lost money at that event.
Yeah, he was frustrated when he left. He's like, oh.
Yeah, and Orlando agrees, right? We need to set my son's older now, but if I was taking my son when he was younger to an event, I knew the parameters going in. I would definitely make sure he knew as well. That way we don't have, whether it be disappointment, a tantrum, tears. Try to avoid that, and even ask him, like, knowing that, like, do you still want to go? Like, this is how it's going to go. Are you okay with that? Are we going? And that way you avoid. Like, it really, I felt terrible seeing a couple of those kids crying, but like that was really what like Chris pointed out, and Richie even pointed out what Chris said, right? At 19 with NIL, there might be some rules going on there. So, but it was at the end of the day, right? It was a great event. There was more cheers than tears, and people walked out of there with some free stuff, definitely some free food, and my fear, and I don't think this will happen. I'm not predicting this. I just don't want it, like any good idea, then it gets beat like a dead horse. Like we see too many of them, and the bloom sort of comes off the rose. If they can keep this where the bloom stays on that sort of rose and people look forward to it, I think it'll be great. If it gets to the point where they're doing too many and it's like, oh, another Topps Rip night. We just had one last month, I like that they do it the same night across
Mhm.
Yeah.
all of the locations. I don't want to see it like this week it's here, next week
Yeah.
it's here, this week it's here. I do it one night. It's like New Year's Eve. We all know it's
Yeah.
we're going to celebrate together potentially. So I like that. I just hope it maintains that sort of I don't want to say mystique, but that sort of format. If
No,
you
for
will.
manufacturers, they're always trying different programs, and I like that. And some of them end up being rinse and repeat. Like at Upper Deck, it was National Hockey Card Day. That was just a really successful program. Shops didn't want us to tweak anything, so we kept it largely the same. But I've done a myriad of different types of events, and they don't always hit, but you got to try them. You have to try them to see what the audience will respond to. And one of the trickiest things in this industry is just how different every collector is. Um, Everyone has different habits, styles, likes, dislikes. We make fun of our preferences. What do you mean you use Scotch tape on a top loader? You sacrilege. All these little things that make us so unique. So for a marketer, marketing to such a diverse customer base that all are very passionate about how they collect, it's hard.
Yeah, Rich is right on it. Right, April 11th, 2026, National Hockey Card Day. So there you go. And a lot of young talent. There always is, but it seems like there's really a lot of great young talent in the NHL right now. Your Celebrinis and Berdards and Will Smiths, and I know I'm leaving someone up. So that's a good
one of the big
segue.
guys right now is named Matt Schaefer for the Islanders.
Oh yeah, for the Islanders. See, I'm a Ranger fan. I'm not giving him any kind of
No,
shit.
no, I hear you, but it's funny. I have an employee named Matthew Schaefer, and the only
Yeah.
difference is he has two F's in his last name instead of one. And so we're going to rip some Series 2 this week and try to get his Young Guns. But the funny thing is, Upper Deck made an error on his Young Guns rookie card, where in the text in the back, it's Schaefer is spelled with two F's. So that's the card we're going to try to pull for my Matt Schaefer this week. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that is fun. And he is probably one of the better young players. Probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I'm a Ranger fan, so our draft picks don't. Alexis Lafreniere isn't panned out like we hoped he would.
No.
There's still time, but we're running out of a little bit. He almost was traded here at the trade deadline, so I'm a little jealous when the crosstown rivals, if you will, hit on a number one pick when we kind of I don't want to say swung and missed, but maybe didn't hit the home run that they did. So most know I know I was a big watcher. I don't know about you, Lauren or Chris, but I was watching a lot of the Olympics that ended a few weeks ago.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yep, and both the U.S. men's and women's took home the gold, both in dramatic fashion, both in overtime with golden goals. Jack Hughes on the men's side, Megan Keller on the women's side, and the women were the favorite, although they really had to rally late to get it done. The men's were a contender, but not weren't considered the favorite, and won in 46 years. We all remember 1980 and Al Michaels' calls on that upset. And so I just did a show and I sold a little bit more hockey. I'll start with you here, Chris. Coming from the Upper Deck side, like, do you anticipate, like, obviously hockey is very strong in Canada. Will 2 gold medals for the U.S. help the hockey bump up the hockey hobby, if you will, here stateside?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was incredible. And again, I talked earlier about core memories and how this type of thing, a lot of people who, especially people who are hockey aficionados, are always going to remember this, unless you're in Canada and you're like, back to Sidney Crosby's golden goal. So I think that this will be a difference maker for the industry for the sport and for collectibles. And you're already seeing it. Jack Hughes's cards have gone haywire since this happened. So I'm kicking myself because I sold some a couple years ago, and I should have stuck onto that. But you just don't know. You don't know who's going to be the star, and that's what makes it exciting. And what a great person you have to. Someone asked in the chat here, is there a list of athletes to stay away from? And yeah, there's kind of a blacklist that's not spoken about or advertised. But what I always find is hockey players are the best athletes to work with out of everyone, and it's not even close. And a lot of times they're European, what have you, but they don't see themselves as stars. They're just dudes that love to get on the ice and throw hands every once in a while, and it's a beautiful thing. So I think from who I would like to collect and who I would like to have my sons interact with, it's hockey players. They're fantastic. So but it's hard because there's aspects of other sports that are so cool, and NBA in particular, when you have your son meeting someone who's like 7 foot, it's the coolest thing in the world for them because it's like talking to a tree. But I think that yes, these are tricky to pull off, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, a couple comments here, and then I'll get to Lauren. Lauren's got a question. This is not on topic, but I didn't want it to get lost in the shuffle from Abe in Vegas. He's asking you, Chris, when is National PSA Card Night?
A great idea. And we have been doing some things in partnership with Topps. So on the Rip Nights at the Rip Night last week at David Adams, we're giving away loops, which are really cool. Help customers look at their cards and make sure that they're worth sending in to be slabbed. So we partner with the shops a lot on these types of things.
Question for Lauren from Fan in the Stand Sports. He says, Lauren, I sent you a message. I need a 1990 Donruss Reverse Negative Juan Gonzalez yarn card. So there you go. You might have a commission. Yep, there you go. Kind of your thoughts. I know you're a basketball lady, Lauren, but when there's success in a sport, right, in the country maybe where it's not the original country or not, European soccer. If the U.S. happened to ever win a World Cup in soccer, I'm not betting on it, but like if it ever happens, I would expect like the soccer market to be enhanced here. Like, do you expect that with the hockey side? And did you watch? Even though because it's the Olympics and even not being necessarily a hockey fan, was it something you tuned into?
Yeah, I was lucky enough that my schedule kind of lined up that I could tune in for both of the games about like halfway through the gold medal games, and they were awesome. So the women's game was first, and that was incredible. It was so exciting. I know you said they were favored, but like you just never know. And like it was
They were down 1-0 with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
And the thing that struck me is this was a team that was beating people like 5-0 and 8-1. Yep. And here they were getting shut out. Now Canada is obviously very good. So like but the fact that they were scoring all these goals and now I'm like, they're going to lose the gold medal game and not score after scoring. Right. Like maybe they scored too many of these goals in all the games before the gold medal game. And then Hillary Knight tied the game up in dramatic fashion. And then they went to, overtime where Keller won it. But go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, no, the context is important because you're right. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose. And like, we didn't score. And yeah, those last 2 minutes were amazing. And then Keller's shot was like, when they played it back in slow motion, it was so cool. Like, if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's just really cool how they like pulled it off. And I think for the entire Olympics tournament, USA only let 2. I think the goalie only let 2 goals scored on Team USA the
Yeah.
entire time. Incredible.
It's nuts.
So yeah, it's just, I mean, it's really cool. And you know, the men's came second, and that was also really cool. But like, the women's was just very exciting. And I know it's the 3rd season of PWHL. And so I've seen a lot of excitement and hype around that. And I think that's really cool. I think it's going to grow that league, which is great. And it's a very accessible league. You can watch the games on YouTube, so you can get a notification. You can watch it anywhere. I think that's great. I think, you know, Upper Deck having a pretty good lock on hockey culture with the men's and the women's, I think it's great. So I'm not big into hockey. I'm not going to pretend like I'm like, you know, a know-it-all hockey fan, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely watching more of like the Professional Women's Hockey League. And I'll watch the men's too, but like I don't know. I mean, it's cool, but I'm really like, the women were just really like, they were really locked in, and they were really pumped, and like it was just more exciting to me personally. But like, I know that, you know, the first win for the men in like 50 years is crazy. That's so exciting. But like, the women, they've been consistently good, which I think is also exciting. And you know, it doesn't take away the fact that this is like, you know, they've never not won a medal. But yeah, so I mean, it's 2 very different ways to be excited about a sport, and there's never a wrong way to be excited about a sport. So I'm really happy that people are into it, and I'm into it more, and I love that it grows.
Yeah, I think there were also a lot of stars too. You know, it
Mhm.
wasn't one person going crazy like we would expect it to be
Yeah.
Connor McDavid. But, you know, for Connor Hellebuck, you know, to be awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom, you know, a couple days later. And, you know, you don't see that for a goalie very often. And the Kachuk brothers, and just how much they love the sport and what have you. And Quinn and Jack Hughes.
And bring in a little aggressiveness to
Yeah. Jack losing his tooth. Like it's just, there were so many iconic moments from the tournament. And, you know, I was watching the first WBC USA game last night with my kids, and it's got the opportunity to do this a couple times in a row here. But I think Japan and the Dominican Republic will be really tough teams in that program. So, but it's fun that we get the Olympics, the WBC. Like, it's one of those years where we're spoiled as sports fans. Oh yeah, and then March Madness is coming up right after that, and baseball starts.
No big deal. Mark,
Yeah.
never heard of it, Chris. Oh no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's great. And shout out to, like, not that it's about one guy, but if you watch that gold medal game, Connor Hellebuck was standing on his head. Some of the saves he made just with like the edge of the stick, where the game would have been over. If that gets by him, we lose, and we're talking about, you know, a different story. And he played, and the thing was, he played well the whole tournament, but it just was amplified, that gold medal game against a Canadian team that knows what they're doing, with plenty of all NHL firepower. And he was just, you know, they were outshot. I mean, you know, I know, you know, John Cooper, the Canadian coach, said, "Oh, the better, you know, we maybe outplayed them, and they made one more play." And that might be the case. But thanks to Hellebuck making some just incredible saves on his back, you know, with a stick as he's going in a different direction. And here we are. And by the way, both of those game-winning pucks are headed to, ironically, the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, Canada. So I thought that was a pretty funny thing I read a few days ago as well. I want to get this comment up.
Worth a visit.
Yeah, it's on my list to do. I've been to Toronto, but I haven't got there yet. Carl from Oz says, "Good morning, Lauren, Chris, John, and all." It's 3:30 a.m. here, and I missed the start, but I'm ready to go now. God bless you, Carl. At 3:30 a.m., I'm hopefully still sleeping or going down my stairs, hopefully successfully, to hit the restroom. But you're watching Hobby Hotline. I'm joking, but we do appreciate it. And Carl asked too, for Lauren. Um, he asked Lauren, like, why don't we see more? Right here, let me put the comment up. Why are they not more women and girls in the hobby? Well, I'll answer. We're seeing more. I can personally attest. We're seeing more here locally in my area, in the Syracuse area, as a lot more dealers, or considerable amount more dealers. And when every year I go to the national, it seems like that's we're seeing more, and even on the corporate side as well. I think it's getting better. I'll let Lauren kind of chime in here first. And I know Lauren's have been on my program and we've talked about this, but for those that may not have heard that, Lauren, I'll let you weigh in here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I think there are more and more coming in, which is great. I think on your show, John, I mentioned an anecdote when we were at the Dallas Card Show in January. There was a girl, she was probably about like 12, and she was negotiating with my husband at our table. Like, she worked out the deal, several deals actually, and she would come over, talk to him, run back to her table, and I guess maybe talk to her dad or get her money, or for whatever reason she would come back and forth. And she the thing I liked about that is, I won't like rehash it because people can go watch the episode of Sports Card Nation, but I liked that she felt safe in that room and she felt comfortable talking to grown men. Like she was okay, navigating back and forth. She was able to talk to my husband, who's almost 40, and like get a deal done, and she wasn't like scared or intimidated. She was open to negotiating. And it was a really impressive sight, because I know at 12 I couldn't do it. Like, I'll just be honest. At her age, whether she was 12, or I mean even at like 16, I know I couldn't do it. And I think again, like I said in the show, so I hope people go watch it on Sports Card Nation. There's been a foundation built for decades of women who have been trying to make a solid foundation for girls to feel comfortable in the space. And now people are able to stand on their shoulders and really benefit from the effort and the time and the passion that was put in to make the space more comfortable for girls. And I know it's kind of hard for some boys and men to understand that, or consider it, or they don't want to, and whatever. But I think there are more, and I think they're coming in, and I think we all need to consider, what are we doing to make space more comfortable and inclusive, and what are the assumptions that we're making when somebody walks in a room. I think also kind of goes hand in hand with race. I think that some Black collectors are also overlooked, and kind of assumptions are made about what they know and what they are there for. And so I think that everybody kind of just needs to reflect on, like, what is hindering you from like experiencing the hobby with these people, because they're there. Girls are there, women are there, and maybe y'all don't collect the same thing, and that's okay if that's the reason that you're not interacting. But if you collect the same thing and you're passionate about the same thing, why are the only people you're speaking to men of your same age, or whatever? Like, look at your circle and understand why maybe you're not seeing them, because you're not looking for them, I guess, to answer that question.
Yeah.
I also think the hobby today is more welcoming than it has been in the past, and that's what really needs to happen. I think the first thing is, like, if you're a woman in the hobby, I think there's that fear or trepidation of being accepted, or how you're going to be perceived or looked at. And so if that sort of veil goes down and goes away, and that sort of prejudging stuff, I mean, it's never going to not exist.
Yeah.
But if the percentages go down of that kind of behavior, I think it has, and it continues to. And that's why we're seeing even more. And I think we're seeing a lot of women say, "Hey, listen, I don't care what you think," right? Which is a great like, I love the hobby. I'm in it, and that's your problem if you got a problem with it. And that's, and maybe not every woman in the hobby thinks like that. Maybe they're a little bit. Some are more shyer than others, but I like the fact that I was set up. I've told the story in the pod. I'll make this story a lot shorter than it is. I was set up with someone I knew, and this is probably double-digit years ago at a show, and a young lady came up to him, and he was pretty rude to her, to the point where, I went right up to him and said, "Listen, man, like that was terrible, and you, to me, I would like find her and apologize. I'm very shocked by how you treated, and." He didn't even really realize it until I sort of which would probably made it to me even made it worse. That it took me to like say, "What are you doing? Like that's terrible." And I don't remember him doing that, but at least I felt better like that. Hey, like you can't treat people like that, just in general, but even more so. And I hope he learned his I hope he learned from that experience, and I hope he changed his attitude with that. But I think that's become more the exception, thankfully, than the rule, if you will. And those folks that think like that, I think there's less of that thinking.
Well, it just takes one to make the situation negative, but and it's frustrating that it happens, but I will say kudos to the manufacturers for continuing to try to make offerings that would appeal to women. There's a lot that people don't even realize. We see Labubu right now. Obviously that's a product that was geared for both men and women. But I think about my time at Upper Deck and how many different types of products we tried that never really hit, like strawberry shortcake and Hello Kitty was one the company invested a lot of money in, and it never hit. But you have to keep trying because the audience is there. They collect a little differently sometimes, and but it's just better, I think, if everyone's involved. So kudos to the manufacturers for still trying with different products.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, and I think that's the positive things. We're it's on all fronts. It's corporate, it's collectors, it's the card manufacturers themselves, and there's always going to be room for improvement. But I think we're going in the right direction rather than the wrong one, and it's important. So
I just got a set last night, John, called the 1979 Super Sisters. And it was the first ever set of trading cards made of women. And it was done by a family. And it's a great story on Card Life. It's a segment in the related show. But it's one of those things where you're like, I didn't know that existed. That is super cool. I'm going to go out and buy that. So, and that was, 50 years ago. We're trying to get more girls in the hobby then. And I think it's kind of cool how far the companies have come. Again, Upper Deck signed athletes like Alexis Morgan and Misty May Trainer and Carrie Walsh Jennings. So volleyball represented. Panini's got WNBA. Topps is doing stuff. Or Upper Deck has PWHL as well. So there's a lot of positives happening with regard to that.
A couple more comments, and then we'll get to our last topic. This is Phil in Oklahoma. I know Phil fairly well. He says at the Oklahoma City show, top-notch shows, by the way, there were a minimum of 10 female dealers, and Oklahoma is usually behind. So I am seeing, even here at my Syracuse shows that I set up, I'm seeing a lot more female dealers and knowledgeable ones, not, where they're running the table, and it's good to see. Sports Card Queen, there's a good comment here. Many women in this hobby, I wish more would go on YouTube and create content. That's tough. A little bit different, right? It's one thing to be in the hobby, but to turn the camera on. I couldn't do the stuff I do now, like maybe even 20, 25 years ago or further back, because I was really a shy in my younger days, if you will. So that's not always easy to do, is to do, content. But you know what, we're seeing more even there as well, and I venture to guess that we'll continue to see more. So another comment here from Carl from Oz says, the girl Finley, she was behind me to get Reggie's out of the National, and I thought that was great. And the comments continue. So we're moving in the right direction. I think it's trending in the right direction, and that's better than the alternative. And there's always going to be room for improvement. I try to do my part, where if I see something that's not right, I'm not shy anymore. So I will go to, just like I told that story. And I wound up, the young lady came to my table later on in that show, and I kind of pulled her aside, and I said, listen, don't let things like that bother you. Like, that's just one person. It's the wrong attitude. It was rude, and I apologize on their behalf. And don't let that discourage you. As a fire truck goes by, don't let that discourage you from, being active in this hobby. It's the greatest hobby in the world. I'm personally glad to see you participating. Just, I know it's tough and tough to hear, but as much as you can, let it go in one ear and out the other. And you win by being active and participating. So she was very thankful. And so, anytime I can, if I see something like that, hopefully I don't, but I'm a guy that will say something. So,
John, what do you think? What do you think cured you of your shyness? Because that is an issue in the hobby where people are afraid to go up and talk to a dealer or talk to another collector, and then they don't have the experience that they could have had.
For me, it was just, I think shyness comes because you're worried about what someone's going to think of you, or I'm going to say the wrong thing, or I'm going to be talking and spit. I'm I used to hate making speeches in English class in high school even. And my English teacher would say, John, you play football in front of 2,000 people. You play bait, you're an athlete. You can't get up in front of 30 kids you're friends with or know and talk for 5 minutes. And I'm like, no, to all eyes. When I'm on a football field, I don't see the crowd. I'm just playing. I'm just trying to do my job and not screw up. I don't see the crowd. When I'm in front of the class, it's like the hot lights are on me.
Yeah.
But his response was but you know him. I'm like, that doesn't really matter. I would always try to
my friend.
But what it was for me, Chris, it's a great question. And I know sometimes you don't know how you got it. For me, I got to an age where I was I don't care what someone thinks. I do. I don't want to make it sound like I do care what people think and feel. But internally, I'm listen, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna, I feel like I'm a nice guy. I'm gonna be me. And if someone likes me, great. And if someone doesn't, that's their issue to wrangle with, right? And listen, let's be real. Some people will look at someone and already the verdict is in. I like that person. I don't like, before they even say a word or write something. And those are the people you can't worry about them because they've already passed judgment. So for me, that's an easy answer. I just knew I got to a stage in an age and stage in my life where it's it is what it is, and hopefully more. Hopefully I win more of the room than not. And I think in general, I feel like I have. But you can, at the end of the day, you can't control what other people, and nor should you. So I just do. I try to do the right thing and be honest and let the chips fall. Yeah. But if you would have told the younger version of me, Chris and Lauren, some of the things I'd be doing, I would have thought you were nuts,
crazy,
crazy. So like coaching varsity sports and
Yeah.
having parent meetings. And I was a kid, like even in my like elementary school days, I didn't even want to raise my hand to like use the restroom. I would hold it all day sometimes and go home and then use the true story. True story.
This is turned into psychology.
Yeah.
Get you on the couch, my friend. Talk through
I'm
early
so proud of
traumas.
you, though. That's incredible to overcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Come a long way. Come a long way.
Well, we're coming down the home stretch here, Chris, but I don't want to not talk about this, right? We're seeing these PSA kiosks in store. I know Burbank has them. Some other stores have them. I think it's kind of cool. Like, what is the logistics? How does this work? Is the store has an employee there? Or is that a PSA employee that's in the store?
PSA
Like, give me
employees. Yeah, so this is interesting. I've always worked really closely with hobby shops. I believe that that's where the magic happens. And from the manufacturer side to now on the PSA side, I've always believed in it. And there's a trend happening right now that's really exciting where some trading card shops are becoming almost like a superstore. And so I was at a conference last January and I was talking with Rob Veras of Burbank Sports Cards about what he was doing. And it was just, I had never heard of someone doing this. He bought a Rite Aid liquor or a grocery liquor, what have you, drugstore, and was converting it into a sports card store. And I was like, are you nuts? Like, this is crazy. And I've known Rob long enough to know that it was going to work. And so I wanted to work with him and say, let's do something that's never been done. Let's put an actual shop in a shop, a PSA submission center in a shop. And the reason why I believe in this is, when I came over from Upper Deck, we were doing some events, but now we're doing hundreds of events a year. What we've found is that when people can be face to face with someone to talk to what type of collector they are, where their collecting journey is taking them, it's really good for that customer to have someone to talk to and consult with regard to how they want to have their item graded, because there's a lot of different ways that you could skin the cat there. You could grade the card, you could grade the autograph, you could grade the card and the autograph, you could do authentic only, and that guidance is really important. So what we saw from those events is that people want us to come meet them on their own turf. They want to speak to a human being. And that's why it made sense for us to look at something more we could do in a hobby shop. I talked earlier about you got to try different things in this industry. And this was one that definitely has gone gangbusters for us, where people feel safe coming and dropping off their items. I found that people have a lot of trepidation about putting their valued item, their favorite collectible, in the mail, and to hand it right to a PSA employee feels a lot better to them after getting the guidance they need. So we started it with Burbank. It's gone very, very well. And we wanted to look at other shops that were doing similar types of stuff and had a lot of real estate. So Cards HQ in Atlanta made a lot of sense. We started that in December, and it's gone very well. Then we opened up Dave and Adams Card World in New York City. They're right by Times Square, and that's been sensational. And then the one that's been just crazy is Mojo Breaks, which we just opened around the Super Bowl, and they're in Santa Clara, up in the Bay Area. But the area that they had for us, it used to be a paint store, so it's where they used to mix the paint. So we have a big area in there, and it's been wonderful for us to be able to engage with customers in that face-to-face type of environment. So I think that we'll be doing more of these in the future. I think that'll be a slower rollout, just given the fact that we're a little bit capacity constrained. We don't need more units per se, but it does make sense for people, if you've never graded an item or have questions about the process, or you've graded something in the past and weren't happy with the results, or we're happy with the results, come talk to someone. And you can check that out where the team is going to be every weekend at psacard.com/events. But these other centers are kind of an always-on type of center. So 2 PSA employees are staffed at each location to really help guide people on the right collecting journey.
So if I heard this right, and I didn't realize this, Chris, this was your idea. Did I hear that correctly?
This is my little baby, yeah. So, but I couldn't
cool.
do it without an amazing team that works on bringing these to life, especially our marketing team.
Was there any once you came up with this idea and you brought it to the powers that be, did it go pretty smoothly? It was talk about.
Well, we looked at what was happening at GameStop, and for me to be able to have the manufacturer experience, it felt very much hobby and retail, right? So GameStop is that retail market. Why can't we do something in a hobby market? And you think about where some of the biggest cards are pulled, they're pulled in some of these big shops that have higher allocations. So it made sense to partner with them. And then what the shops love about it is there's a lot of people that, as big as Rob Vers's Burbank Sports Cards is, there's a lot of people that don't know he's there. And we're able to drive a lot of traffic from our website that says, hey, if you're in this location, why don't you go down to Burbank Sports Cards and get some help in person? And it works. It works very well. It's a very symbiotic relationship where they see the value in us being there, and we see the value in being there and helping to drive traffic to them.
Do you anticipate more maybe card stores kind of reaching out like, hey, we want one here?
Yes,
how does it work?
I get a lot of calls about that. I get a lot of calls about that. So
is there a prerequisite? Do you have to be vetted? How does that
I was looking at shops in the Seattle area. We're looking at different markets. So I go and do a lot of events myself as well to talk to the shops to see if there's real estate that makes sense. But there's a lot of different markets we're looking at having a permanent home in and just helping make the journey easier for customers. And I often say that I provide suggestions and you make the decisions. So that's how we want to help guide customers and collectors.
Yeah, I thought I found it very interesting. And see, I'll be very blunt. I would not probably drop my cards off at GameStop. That would make me very nervous. And I've had people come up to me at my shows that I'm set up with, and like, what are your thoughts on it? I'm like, they may be very knowledgeable. I don't know. I just can't, in my head, I can't get over that hurdle.
Yeah, I feel though like GameStop is, when I think of traditional retail, I think of Target, Walmart. So I feel like GameStop is a bit more hobbyish. Like the people that work there are, they're not dealing with groceries and things like that, lounge chairs. But the hobby shop is obviously the creme de la creme for knowledge and experience.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd be more comfortable in that situation. I also do mail them, obviously, but we don't have any kiosks at this point here. But if and when that ever happens, that would be pretty cool. Lauren, I don't know how much grading you do or don't do. Kind of as we wind down here, kind of your thoughts on seeing, a grading kiosk in a store.
Yeah, I think I think it's cool. I think I think some people are adamantly against grading and some people are like, they love it, they have to have it, that's how they want their cards. We're selective with what we choose to grade. So I think it's cool. I mean, having it, like Chris said, it makes sense to have it in the hobby shop. I mean, and like you said, John, like there's a trust there over GameStop. Yeah. And just the progression of Target to GameStop to your local hobby shop, that makes sense. I think that will translate to a lot of people. And I think people who are maybe nervous about grading or don't fully understand it or don't get the concept, having somebody in their local store to say, hey, like, this is the deal, this is why we do this is, like to kind of answer any questions or like, cure their apprehension. I think that's great. I think it's like, like Rip Night, having that extension into the community. I think that that's a very important part of the hobby. And I think for PSA to focus on that and to like continue that link and like tether the two together, I think that's great.
So here's a question, Chris. I don't know if you can. It says, do these card shop owners get some kind of discount on grading? I'm assuming he means the
No.
ones that have the kiosks in the store itself.
No.
Okay.
Again, they see the value in
Yeah.
having the shop in a shop, just because it's a level of expertise. It's something not a lot of other people have. So yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's a really nice symbiotic relationship.
Now, how about this? I got to ask this. So let's say, and I'm just making arbitrary numbers up, 1,000 cards get submitted that week at that card store. Does obviously the store benefits from people coming in the store and maybe buying something else, whether it be singles
They
or a
absolutely
wax
do.
product. Do they get anything based on the number of submissions the store brings in, though?
No, not at this time. But again, we see a real strength of, it's called attach rate, where people come in to do X and then they also do Y. So they come in to drop off, but they're also buying a couple boxes or a couple slabs, or they're selling some slabs. So for the hobby shop owner, what really makes a hobby shop work is traffic, and having enough customers come through. Again, every customer has different wants, needs. So they just want the eyeballs, and to give them a chance. And again, a lot of the shops we've been partnering with are very impressive shops that people want to go to anyway. So there's plenty of collectors that will fly in from Japan or Europe just to go to Burbank Sports Cards, but there's also some that come just for PSA. And I had a customer this week from Taiwan who flew out just to drop off at Burbank Sports Cards. So again, it's really interesting the types of consumer behavior that this new program is causing to come to shops like never before.
I have one last question. So there's two PSA employees in the kiosk. Are they there the whole store opening hours, or are they like peak hours? Do they have the same exact schedule or not necessarily? Do we lose you, Chris?
Oh, I thought it was me.
No, I think you froze. So, all right, well, let's get to a couple final comments. Maybe we'll get Chris back. Yankee Card Steve says, just a shout out, card show in Phoenix. A lot of card shows. The Philly Card Show is today. Carl from Oz says every time I go to LA, his first stop is Burbank. And so there we go. I don't know if we're gonna get Chris back. Things happen. Listen, I had graphics that didn't work, so he just texted me. He can't get back, but he did answer the question. So for those wondering, they have the same hours as the card shop. So the two PSA employees get there when the card shop opens, and they leave when the card store closes. So I was curious to that. So let me bring him back, and there he is. There.
Sorry about that.
We got
I didn't realize the show was going to go so long. So yeah, my computer died.
So I told him what you had texted me, like the PSA employees are there as along with the store employees for the shop.
Yeah, I would recommend just checking with
operating.
the shop. Like for Dave and Adams right now, I think because of the weather, it's been a little slower, so they've been closed on Monday, Tuesday. But for the most part, they're open. But just check with the shop.
It's best. And I know I said one last one. This one's quick. Is it we're probably going to see more of these, or you think?
Yeah, I do. But I think it'll be a very slow rollout. Again, PSA has some capacity constraints right now that we're working through and adding new locations and graders. So we'll be launching Germany this summer, which will help a lot. We're launching a submission center in England. So there's a lot of positives coming that will help us grow. But one thing I will say is I'd rather apologize for the delays in getting things back to people than have a situation where maybe PSA floods the grading room with people who aren't ready to grade at the level and consistency of a PSA grader. It's about 6 months before someone's released of hard training and going through the grind every day for a junior grader to make it to the floor. And it there's a real sense of awe and I've made it when people do. It's really cool to kind of see junior graders become real graders, but at the same time, it's I'm glad that they're not just throwing bodies at all the demand. They're doing it the right way.
Well, Carl wants one in Australia, so there you go. And
Carl, it's absolutely something we're looking at. So hang in there.
all right, there you go. Right from the source. I'm kid you not, for anyone listening, whether you're watching live or after the fact on audio, that I did not know this was Chris's idea. I knew about it, and that I didn't know this was his baby, so to speak. So that worked out even better than I anticipated. So there you go. Well, everyone, we went a little overtime. I appreciate it. I always say thank you to the great chat room. Without you, the show is not as much fun. It's funner. And even if you're not in the chat room and you're listening to us after the fact, right, it's still you're giving of your time in that fashion, and we appreciate you just as much. Just a reminder, we're live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, generally with 3 new faces on the screen, and usually new topics as well. So we went a little overtime. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you,
Thanks,
Chris.
everybody.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.